Good evening, this is Melissa with thestockswish.com, and I'm here to discuss with you tonight a beautiful continuation gap, which is KSS. I don't know how many videos I've done on this. I've lost track, quite frankly. This thing has had such beautiful moves ever since the gap that happened back here on November 29th. So as it turns out, I did do a video on it not that long ago where I discussed how there was a letter out there somewhere in the universe that I saw that was telling people to buy this in here. And I said, it is not a buy. Now, it booped up here, and it still wasn't a buy, and it's not a buy. Why? Because this is a golden gap. And when something gaps like this, and it's a very good gap down, you don't ever buy it. You do not buy it. Please don't buy it, all right? So I hope no one bought this. Then, as soon as it tried to go back up here again, which I knew it wasn't going to do, all this did was retest resistance. Remember, these are areas right there. In fact, what's the high of this bar is 45.06. It booped up here to 45.21. Fine, no big deal. It got down right away immediately here. And then it had a beautiful sell set up right here on the 26th, the day after Christmas. And then I saw this thing. It was like incredible, this call that I made of this thing. This was on January 2nd. I'm going to go over it with you in a minute. This had such a beautiful move. It was unexpected, out of the blue on the first day of the year. And what was it? It was a continuation. It was just a continuation of the gap that happened all the way back here on the 29th. Beautiful, beautiful, fabulous move. Now, as it turns out, today it gapped down because it had some kind of earnings that came out on it ahead of time, wasn't planned or scheduled, and it didn't act correctly. Why? Because it is weak. It is a bearish gap. It was a bearish gap, but it just didn't act right for a bunch of reasons. One, because of the market activity this morning. Two, because of the move that it had yesterday. And three, it just didn't. Okay, just didn't act right. There was nothing to do with this today. Before I go in what happened, the perfect play that was yesterday, I had this on my radar this morning, but I didn't do anything with it. Never took a trade and never did anything because I saw right here, it did a reverse swoosh. This is a reverse swoosh. Okay, that's what this is here. That's what this did. You can't short into a reverse swoosh. Can't do it. And also I want to make note, as pretty as this traded yesterday, and actually as pretty as it's traded every single day that it's traded since the gap, it did not trade pretty today. Sometimes a stock that works terrific will do something bizarre one day, and you know what you do? You don't trade it. You just stay away. As soon as it starts to trade and act weird, you say, wait a minute, this isn't what this thing normally does. I'm not going to do anything with it today. And the reason it does stuff like that is because of the fact that something happened that was not supposed to happen, and therefore it's kind of shaken up, and it's trying to figure itself out, and so it's in a confused state, and the chart's in a confused state, so it doesn't trade normal, and then you just stay off of it. It's just you look at it, you say, wait a minute, there's nothing to do here today. And sometimes that's how actual days are trading. You might look at 25 different charts in a day, and nothing is clear. You know what you do? You don't trade that day then. Okay, when you look at a million different charts and none of them have a correct bias based on the chart, and you can't figure out the direction, it's, you know what it says? Stay away today. There's many times where the market's going to tell you what it wants to do, where the stocks are going to tell you what it wants to do, where the gaps are going to tell you what they want to do, and when they do and when they're clear, that's when you play them. And that happens a lot, but every once in a while something will act strange, which is what this did today, and you're off of it then. You're absolutely off of it, because you know what? This stock is lower. It is lower. Didn't act like that today, so you don't do anything with it, but you can't buy it because the stock is lower. The chart is lower. It's a continuation gap from this one. It gapped down today. It didn't work. Why? The market was a problem today, trying to figure itself out. This had a lot of selling in it yesterday. The earnings were unexpected. This isn't really anything to be concerned about, that the stock's going to all of a sudden reverse and flip around here. No. Okay, this really was just a rally up here to resistance. In fact, the number was 42.80. Didn't even get all the way up to the top of this bar here. Right there, it's set right on top of there. See that? Remember, these are areas. Sometimes they're exact numbers, but I love it when they're exact numbers. Many times they're exact numbers, but sometimes they're areas. All right. And I'll go over what I did yesterday. So on the second, it was I liked it a lot, and it was on my watch list for lower, and it was like 50% my golden gap strategy and 50% instinct yesterday when the first play I called in this. I mean, it was just so incredible. The people in my room probably didn't know what to think. I liked it in the morning. I watched it. I was watching a couple things, and I just called it. I called it as soon as it set. I called it short here at 43.28. Stop over the high of the day. And look what it did. It just fell off a cliff after that. and the thing is, the only reason that this gapped up all yesterday was because the market gapped up. And I knew that. I knew the stock was still weak. I didn't even care about the green bar the day before. I knew the stock was still weak. We gapped right into an area that I thought was nice. And I just wanted it to show me as soon as it could that it was weak. And that's what it did. And I took it. And then after that, it had this big drop on here. Had never expected it to have any enormous target on the day. But once these things start to get momentum into them, you know that, of course, they continue to go. Second entry was in here. Or you lower the stop down here if you don't want to add or re-enter it right into here. Okay? Right in here in the 1 minute, and you take it down. Now, once it got to a certain point, I felt that it would for sure break. Once it broke the green bar here, I felt it would sure break 42. Of course, we touched down at 42.06, pittered and pittered, finally broke 42.04, and then it actually broke 42 and went down to 41.88. Initially, I thought the first target on this was right around here, 42.37. I thought was a huge target on this when I first got in it. And then, of course, it went even farther. And that's what happens with these things. When the momentum starts to get in them, lots of people start to short them and then take trades in them. They take like little scalp trades in here. Meanwhile, I'm in this thing all the way up in here. There was no one that got a better price than this yesterday. That was one of the... I was going to say that's the best call I've made all year. Of course, I've only had the trading room for 2 days this year, 2013. But so far, this is the best call I've made this year, right there. Beautiful, just incredible. It was like psychic. As a sixth sense, because I liked it. I knew it would work. And this is the difference when you trade with conviction and when you trade without conviction. And it all comes right around to the gap. To the golden gap. And the conviction I had in this gap and the continuation of it to continue to move through. And reading the charts correctly, which is something else I teach in a class, which is to know that the stock gapped up, not based on strength, but with the market, all right, and into a resistance area. That's all that this was doing. This wasn't doing anything wrong to deviate at all from this chart. Just like this small, tiny rally in here is not showing any strength. Every single bar in here is a small green bar. There's no big greens, and it ends with a topping tail. And there was nothing in here to tell anyone to even remotely buy this thing in here when that letter was calling this as a buy. That was insane. All right? You have got to learn how to read charts to trade well, and you've got to learn how to read gaps, and you've got to learn how to play gaps. And that's why I suggest contacting me about learning how to take my gap class and how to rate these gaps to know which ones are so good that we'll have these continuation moves that last. This has lasted now for a month, and it's still going. In fact, let's just look at the target here on this thing. Broke under here today, so for sure it's lower. Target on this, the real target on this is, 40, 39.50. I had 38 written down somewhere here, 38. 39.50 for absolute sure. Right in here for sure, but really 30, 38, 38 and a half, 38. This is nothing over here, by the way. There, it's going to squish in here. I don't know when it gets there, but it's not going to be that long. It's not going to be that long. It may wiggle and jiggle because of the green bar today, but it's going to fix itself. In fact, it's going to fix itself actually pretty soon. I think this chart is going to fix itself soon after today's confusion, and I'm going to be watching this because it's going to provide a nice short, because every time this is traded, this day in here, this day here, this day here, these 2 days here, actually, I think I was in it. Every day it did it. This day, the gap, and the next day too. It has traded so beautifully. And by beautifully, I mean clean entries, nice stops, nice moves, no stress, No drama. You take the trade, it goes, you're up as soon as you take it. I mean, that's what happened yesterday. You press the button, you're up. Boom. I mean, what more can you ask for? It's all in the gap. And that's why I love these gaps. Beautiful move in KSS. Continuation gap that happened yesterday. Today, stay away. Don't do anything. Nobody should have done anything today because of the reverse swoosh. And if you don't know what a reverse swoosh is, I urge you to contact me at melissa@thestockswoosh.com to take my class, because reverse swooshes will help you stay away from trades that are dangerous and that you just shouldn't be taking. All right? It's important. These things are very important. These things are make it or break it with your profitability in trading. So thank you for coming. Have a great night. If you're interested in more information about the trading room or my class, contact me at melissa@thestockswoosh.com. Thanks and have a great night.